Hey guys, welcome to this week's weekly episode of the K&M Showcast. I am Kyle, and this is my co-host Mike.
How's everybody doing tonight?
All right, so tonight we are going to we got a couple talking points here. Number one, we're going to talk about the Player of the Month missions that came out today. Want to hit on that. Secondly, we want to give you some market advice here. Got a few budget guides to invest in, just in case you're low on stubs. And also, if anyone has a question, we'll take a question or two this evening at the end of the show here. But before we get started here, today in baseball history, 1982, Twins rookie outfielder Jim Eisenreich, who suffers from the nervous disorder Tourette syndrome, is forced to remove himself from a 5-3 loss to the Red Sox when he is taunted mercilessly by bleacher fans and his violent twitching becomes uncontrollable. Eisenreich, hitting .310 after making the jump from Class A ball to the major leagues, will be hospitalized on May 9th and will make several unsuccessful comeback attempts before retiring in 1984. He will return to the majors with the Royals in 1987 after finding an effective treatment for the condition. Now, I'm a little older than some of the folks here that may be watching, but Jim Eisenreich, he was on that Phillies team that lost in the World Series to the Blue Jays there. And he became an effective player. He wasn't an everyday player, but he did average a career batting average of 290. And I never knew that he suffered from Tourette's disorder or the Tourette syndrome. And man, kudos to him to sticking with it and making a solid baseball career out of it, and didn't let others determine the outcome of his life. So thought that was pretty interesting when I found that today.
Yeah, definitely. It's super interesting, honestly.
Number one talking point this evening is Player of the Month. Um, I thought we did a pretty good job of predicting those on last week. We hit on um, Jed Lowry. Then we definitely hit on Didi, figuring that he was going to um, be one of the Player of the Months. We definitely hit on Sean Manaea. That is Mike's um, pride and joy this year. Kind of his little man crush. He's pretty proud that he predicted him through that first no hitter, and he's looking like a solid prediction there. I can't remember if we talked about Corbin or not, but I think we talked about Albies. But Mike is a little bitter this evening that Baez didn't get a upgrade tonight, though.
It's more than a little bitter. I'm a lot bitter, mainly because I was super excited. I thought for sure this would be the month because it's Baez and he's usually a train wreck on offense and he played really well. And then they just do me like that and use Albies instead. I mean, I guess he had an okay month, but it is what it is.
Well, let's
Oh,
first here just look to see what eventually you have to collect all these guys to get that Didi Gregorius there. Let's just take a look at what these guys are going for. Um, if you did spend 20K on a pack and you did pull a Ozzy Albies, you would definitely hit the jackpot there. Um, but if you pull the Jed Lowry or Otani, um, you would lose quite a bit as well. So I'm not really sure what the odds are there, but I know who I would pull if I pulled it. It'd be a Jed Lowry for sure.
I would pull Jed Lowry 5 times.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, if you place bids, you're looking at um, about 160,000 stubs that you'd have invested into these guys um, to complete the program for Dini Gregorius. I'm sure if you give it a few days, the prices would probably come down a little bit. Looks like you get about 500 of those back there. You could sell a couple souvenirs pack. You get 2 grand back there. But still, you're probably spending a good 150,000 stubs to get Didi. So it is it does. It's one of those things. Is he worth it to you? Is he one of your favorite players? I know there's a lot of Yankee fans out there that would say 150,000 stubs is definitely definitely worth it for them. But now last year I didn't do any of the Player of the Month missions. They were kind of a grind. But you mentioned that you've done a couple of them, right, Mike?
Yeah, last year I did the James Paxton Player of the Month. I believe he was July, June. He was June or July. He was one of the two. And then I believe August was Reese Hoskins. I did that one, but I didn't do it until like after the baseball season ended. I had a bunch of stubs towards the end of the game cycle. Didn't know what to do with them. I couldn't finish all collections, which kind of sucked. So I did the Reese Hoskins Player of the Month. Yeah, last year they were super grindy. I mean, not like these immortal grindies or like the team epics, but last year you had to collect all of the cards and then do a collective mission. Like with the hitters, you had to match so many hitting stats. With the pitchers, you had to match so many pitching stats. Where like as this year, from what I can tell, it's you collect a card and you do a card specific to like, or you do a mission specific to that card. I don't know what the missions are because I don't plan on doing them. I don't think DD's worth it. Um, Sorry to all you Yankee fans. I just, to me, my biggest thing with DD being the program card is that his live series should go diamond within like at the next update next week. And I think that the program card is going to be worth, I guess, more to people who want DD because it's a 91 overall, I think.
Right.
So therefore it has more. It probably has more power than his live series card will get. And if the game stays the way it is now, power is really going to matter. So I think if you're investing in DD to go diamond, it may be a good idea to sell now instead of waiting until after the update because, as evident from Verlander, if it's somebody that everybody's invested into, price is going to kind of tank after they go diamond. And with him having that program card, I think that if you truly do value power, then his life series isn't going to do much for you. I mean, his life series has nice power. Right now, it's 70 versus right, 53 versus left. I'm not sure what the player of the month is. I think it's like 80 and 60 something, maybe. Um, but I don't know. I would have rather seen somebody like Josh Hader get the program card, just because I think he had an amazing month that he capped off with that 8 strikeout save the other night. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just not super keen on DD being the program. I mean, it was easy to predict. Doesn't really sell it for me.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I definitely agree that he's probably going to go diamond here. The next upgrade there, is the 91. Yeah, the power is a little bit better. Contact would be a little bit better. The clutch will probably be a little bit better. Um, but is it really worth spending 150,000 stubs for 91 overall when you'll probably have 85, 86 overall diamond that you could probably purchase for, you know, 10 grand or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It doesn't seem really worth it to me. Um, there's some of those guys out there they just love missions, period. And I think if it cost a million stubs, they would probably do it no matter what.
Oh, probably. Oh, for sure. I mean, I wouldn't lie. Like, if Bias had gotten a Player of the Month card, I 100% would have grinded for the program, or at least bought his card, no matter what the price was. But yeah, I just like you said, his power's gonna be like the bread and butter on the Player of the Month card. But it really comes down to do you want to pay $150,000 or 150,000 stubs for some power, or just deal with a little bit less power, but still the same solid all around card in his life series that you can get for like 10% or like for a tenth of the price.
Right. Yeah. When you talk about that, that you being a homer, a Cubs fan, and that you would purchase Baez if he'd have been the player of the month. It does make sense that they would choose Didi in that regard. Although Hader would be a relief pitcher, and those are few and far between. So it would be maybe people would grind for him, but Yankees probably have the biggest fan base out there, and there's probably going to be a lot more people that would probably do that mission over all the other possible candidates. So all in all, probably a good choice for them to choose Didi. But me, I would probably save the 150,000 stubs or so. Maybe at the end of the year, if the cards start going down and you have a lot of stubs left and you're looking for something to do, then might be a pretty good time to maybe go grind for it. But as you can see, I have a few things that I'm still grinding for myself, where I would rather finish up this Billy Williams here and collect that, and before I started on Didi. But that's personal preference. That's the great thing about the show is that there's so much to do that everyone gets to do their favorite thing.
Yeah, that's actually another thing I wanted to touch on really quick. Whenever you mentioned the Yankees being like more marketable, I guess. Um, I think that may be why Otani got a Player of the Month card. Because I was reading in their blog how he doesn't have a hitting card in the game yet.
Very
I
true.
think that they saw an opportunity, and I mean he was solid during the month. I mean he batted 327 with 4 home runs, 13 RBI, which isn't bad at all. But I think that there are plenty of guys who are more deserving. But because Otani is so like has so much hype behind him right now, I think it was smart on them to add him in there, even though he may not have necessarily deserved one. At least in my opinion. Again, like I think the dude's great. I think he's been really good for the first month in the bigs, but I don't think he should have gotten one over somebody like Baez. And that's me being unbiased. Like I believe that his card was solely based off the fact that he didn't have a hitting card in the game, and because he'll sell just off the hype.
Yeah, I think you make a really good point there. Actually, I never thought about that until you said that. But that's a great point. Doesn't have a hitting card, opportunity to put one in there. He was not too many people expected him to start hitting homers right away, and it was definitely a shock. Took me by surprise, especially after his pretty terrible spring training there, where everyone thought that he probably should have just been sent to a Double A or Triple A, and instead he's on the big leagues and starts off hitting dingers. So, um, yeah, that's a great point there. So talking point number two is the community market there with upgrades, investments, downgrades. Um, I think we've done a pretty good job so far this year. We've definitely hit on Verlander, hit on Cole, hit on Jed Lowry, Mike with his Sean Manaea there, many others, Javi Baez. Um, we've done pretty good for predictions there. Um, as you can see, I'm sitting at about 804 stubs. Still have my 5 Verlanders that I need to sell to get up there on stubs, but today's not a very good opportunity to sell those, as the price is down quite a bit. But sometimes you can't afford those high-end guys to purchase, and like Mike touched on earlier, right now really isn't a good time to hop on the bandwagon of investing in Didi Gregorius. The guy is going for about 9,000 stubs, as you saw from Verlander. Verlander's going for about 10 grand today. Um, is he really? The market is kind of a little crazy this year. I think in regards to the player ratings being a little different. But you see that if he even goes diamond, what's he going to sit at? Will he sit at like Verlander, 10 grand? You're not really going to get a return on it. But I got a few guys here, some budget guys that can invest in here that won't cost you a whole lot of money, but could bring a little bit better return. And if you invest in Didi, you might only be able to invest into a couple, where you can invest into multiple guys of these. But as you see here, Christian Villanueva, he got himself a Player of the Month card. Could be on SDS's radar now. Playing some pretty good baseball. You could get him for right now for 120 stubs. Okay. If he goes silver, goes up to, let's say, 75, 76, probably going to sell for 300 to 500 stubs. Well, you can almost double or triple your investment. Seems like a pretty good deal, or a pretty good deal for me. Uh, so there's a budget guy, number one. Another guy could take a look at is he's not as cheap as him, but I know he's a favorite of Mike's that he mentioned here. Thought that he may get a Player of the Month card the other day. Is Charlie Morton. Charlie Morton's sitting at a 78 overall. Charlie Morton's had a great season so far. He's 4-0, 1.72 whip, sitting at 45 strikeouts in 36 and two-thirds innings at a .98 whip. Um, Charlie Morton could be in line of another boost here. Um, Probably not going to maybe happen this week, but if he keeps it up here in the next few starts, he could hit gold, and he's going to be obviously over worth 1,000 stubs there. So you could double your stub investment there as well.
To touch off that, sorry to interrupt you, but
No, you're good.
one thing to keep in mind about investing is they typically won't invest the same player or won't upgrade the same player attribute-wise in back-to-back upgrades.
Correct.
Um, that was one thing last year was if a guy got like just a 1 point upgrade, like maybe if he was a 78 and he thought he was gonna be a gold and he only wanted a 79, so he was still a silver but wasn't a gold. You typically had to wait another 2 to 3 weeks at least before they would touch him again. So that's just one thing to kind of keep in mind whenever you're looking at some of these guys. Like I believe Morton did get upgraded with the last roster update a couple weeks ago. Same thing with like Manea and like Baez. Like they just got upgraded. So it's going to take them like playing consistently again for probably another 2 to 3 weeks. But I mean, they're definitely safe investments. Just don't expect it to happen like right away. Like they have to keep up the way that they're playing. So just wanted to add that in there.
Right, definitely. No, that's a great point there. Just as we saw last year, it took Robbie Ray forever to finally hit gold. Even Severino had to wait quite a while before he hit
Yeah,
gold.
Jake
Some of
Graham
these
too.
guys, yeah, some of these guys they may have to wait to even closer to the All Star break. But that's why it's called an investment.
Yeah, exactly.
um, Here's a budget player, in honor of Mike this evening. Is a guy who uh, had a pretty bad year last year, but Cubs fans are probably still love him just because of his effort coming back in the World Series, and that's Kyle Schwarber. The guy has power. If the guy could put it together, I could see him going silver. Maybe, yeah, it's not going to happen today, tomorrow, even the day after. This is an investment here probably for a couple months down the road, but he's had a solid start to the season. He's got 7 homers, 17 RBIs, batting .272 with on base percentage of .379. That's definitely a pretty big improvement from where he was last year. Um, he's looking a little slimmer this year. Obviously he doesn't have quite as many at bats as you'd like to see, playing 25 games, 81 at bats. But if he could catch fire, I mean, are you going to lose anything off of buying, Kyle Schwarber for 35, 40, 45 stubs? I mean, you could buy 10 of them, 400, 500 stubs, but your return on your investment could be, in a month or two, 400 or 500 stubs per Kyle Schwarber. So I think, that's a guy to kind of keep your eye on. Another guy who's had a start of the season, kind of a flashback here, is Nick Markakis. Nick Markakis here, having a pretty good season so far. He used to be pretty good with the Baltimore Orioles. Um, then had a couple injuries, had his neck injury there, and wasn't playing very good baseball. But this year he seems to have come back to life here. Um, he's got 5 homers, 23 RBIs, 20 base on balls, which that's pretty good. You can see he already has 80 plate vision. but he's batting 336 with a 429 on base percentage. He's already at a 74. I mean, I would think that within the next upgrade or two, as long as he doesn't have a terrible week, that Nick Markakis should be a lock to go a silver. What do you think?
I would definitely agree with that. We were actually talking before. I didn't even realize that he had played as much as he has this season, and he's on my fantasy team, which is, I guess, I should pay a little bit more attention then. But yeah, no, I think that those are both two really, really good people to invest in. Like you were saying with Schwarber, this is going to come off really biased because again, I'm a Cubs fan, but the dude was great in the minor leagues. Like, I mean, he was the next big thing. Was never like a top catching prospect, but wasn't terrible behind the plate. And then he had that knee injury a couple years ago, it stopped him from catching. He still wants to catch, but I mean, most of you know the Cubs are in a pretty good place. We have Contreras, and then we actually have Caratini as Contreras' backup, who's pretty solid. Um, as a Cubs fan, and it pains me to say this, I actually think Schwarber's bat is where his value is. Um, So I think, as Kyle was saying, like you're not going to really lose anything by investing in him. He's a bronze. He should, if he keeps up where he's at, he'll go silver at some point this year. Probably won't get much higher than that. But he's somebody that, in my opinion, if he does get traded at the deadline because the Cubs need pitching, and like I said, he has a lot more value as a bat than he does in the field. He's a glorified DH. I think that if he gets traded to like an AEL team, he could get potentially more at bats just because he's going to DH every day. And I think that he has the potential to be somebody like David Ortiz, not as good as Ortiz, so don't come at me with don't come at me and attack me. But I think that if he just focused, like if his focus was just swinging his bat, he could easily hit 30, 40 home runs a year, not strike out 150 times, or bat 211. Uh, But yeah, I think that that was a really good person to kind of touch on because he's really under the radar because of how bad of a year he had last year. I mean, he spent a month in the minor leagues,
Right.
and then he came back. He looks really good this year. Like I said, he looks slimmer. Bat 272. His OPS is over 900, which is really good, especially because I think his average is like between 600 and 700. I don't think he'll keep that up. But like I said, the issue with him getting higher than a silver is he's not very good in the field,
Right.
and your hitting stats can only carry you so far. But like Kyle was saying, I mean, you invest 30, 40 stubs in 10 of them, you spend 400, and then come the All-Star break, he's still batting 280 with 20 home runs. Then I mean, he'll definitely go silver, and you'll get at least 400 apiece for him, if not a little bit more.
Right. Really, he just needs that vision to go up a little bit there. That would help him quite a bit. The contact to go up a little bit as well. And I mean, I think he does have the plate vision. I mean, we saw it in the World Series. I mean, his he was just grinding at bats, and maybe it's a mental thing as well. Playing the field, if he could just focus on that and become the play like a David Ortiz, Edgar Martinez type thing, maybe his bat would even come more alive. So, and then Nick Marquez, I'll give you guys one more this evening. Here is another. We're really going to the bottom of the barrel here. Cheap investment. I'm going to. I said a couple weeks ago to keep your eyes on Greg Holland. Greg Holland is struggling at the moment. He still could turn it around. But Greg Holland, maybe he's wishing that he would have signed and went to a spring training. Although that pick that I believe was attached to signing him probably hurt his signability there. But this evening, here is a really cheap guy to buy if you want to. Just real cheap investment. Just want to throw a couple stubs at him. You could even throw 200 stubs at him, buy 20 of them, and get a pretty good investment. Is Bud Norris. We know in the game he has. Is that um, is that a breakout card? I think he has there. The mission is that like a 78 overall breakout card, if I remember offhand. But
I believe you're right.
Bud Norris this year for the Cardinals, he just got the closing job back from Greg Holland. But Bud Norris is 5 for 5 in saves with a 1.88 ERA, .98 WHIP, and he has 20 strikeouts in 14 and a third innings. Um, that's sitting pretty good. As you can see, his K per nine there is 65. I think 20 strikeouts in 14 innings probably deserves a decent sized bump there for Bud Norris. Um, yeah, he's not a guy that's going to go gold this year. But we're talking if you don't have many stubs, buy 10 of them. He goes up to a bronze. Hey, maybe he continues to have a great year in a closing role. Maybe he takes a cue from Wade Davis or someone like that, Andrew Miller, and has a good year. You know, probably bronze, maybe tops as a silver if he keeps it up, All-Star break or beyond. But just a guy to keep your eye on, Bud Norris tonight. He's having a really good start to the season, and he's dirt cheap. So you're not going to lose anything on him this evening. So there's a few budget guys to invest in if you're like me, low on stubs. But have a few stubs this evening to throw at a guy. Those are a few for you. Um, Anything that you want to add before we call our wrap this evening?
Actually, I want to ask you a question because you mentioned how Greg Holland didn't sign immediately and without a spring training. So, do you think, in your opinion, it hinders a guy's performance? Because when I think about it, I think of how a guy like Jake Arrieta didn't pitch at all during the spring and is like 3-1 right now with a 3.0 ERA ish. And then you also have on the other side Alex Cobb, who has been absolutely atrocious this year after looking really good last year. Not, I mean, not like great, but not this bad. I mean, he's 0-3 with almost a 10 ERA. So do you think that guys that are like that hold out essentially for contracts are more, is it more of a benefit or is it more of a a deterrence, I guess, or detriment, would you say?
I think for the most part, I think it hurts them. You take a guy like Stephen Drew. He really struggled after he held out. Um, it's I think it's hard to kind of just come and turn it on. Um, I think you just get back into the groove, get back in the motion. I mean, maybe there are those few guys out there like Jake Arrieta or that can hold out and kind of make it um, just be an exception to the rule, I guess. But I think for the most part, I think it does hinder a guy. Although, when they do come back, they typically send them to extended spring training and things like that. To try to pitch to non-major leaguers right away. So, I mean, they try to do their best to get them back in game shape. But I think if you're worried about your stats, I think you probably should get a few spring training games in.
No, I would definitely agree with that. I just thought it was kind of interesting where you mentioned Holland because my first thought was Arietta, and I mean, I think with Jake though, this is again me being a homer. I think he's trying to prove a point to the Cubs
Yeah, you're probably right.
um, that we made a bad decision, and it's looking that way so far. I'm not giving up on you yet, but man, watching Jake pitch right now, it's like, I wish we could get just half that production from you.
Right.
And I would definitely agree that I think it does. I think at least at first, it really hinders their performance. I mean, especially with guys like Cobb, Holland. I think Lance Lynn too held out for a little bit. I think he was a later signing. I don't think he pitched a full spring either, and he's not looked that great either. So, I do think that it hinders. But I mean, they are professionals. I'm sure they'll bounce back just fine. It's just very interesting to see because you see in other sports like in football when a guy holds out, he usually comes back and he's fine. So it just kind of shows how how much you really have to how much effort you have to put into being good at baseball because I mean I don't think there's any such thing as a bad professional, but there are professionals who sometimes you're wondering how they're even in the big leagues. So
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And there's always those exceptions to the rules, and you're probably right when it comes to Arietta there trying to prove a point, and uh, just having something in your belly that wants to prove something to someone. It's just like in night sports, you don't give bulletin board material because usually it comes back to haunt you. hopefully,
Exactly.
hopefully it doesn't come back to haunt you this year.
Hopefully not. Oh my Lord. Hopefully not.
So, but appreciate you guys tuning in, guys that'll watch the show afterwards and get a chance. Make sure you guys hit subscribe on that on the channel there, so that way you never miss an episode of the show. And appreciate y'all tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Everybody have a good night.